All right. Who wants to talk UCC reform? Me? You? Of course. Hello and welcome. We're going to talk Union Customs Code reform. This is our update session for 2025. And yeah, it's a standing item. It will be a standing item for a while. Union Customs Code reform. So first, this is only about European Union. Okay. And this is about the Union Customs Code. And as you know, it's been now, yeah, coming up to May. It'll be 2 years that this idea was presented. And it's being discussed, it's being taken seriously, and it's advancing. Now, Europe can go really fast, but can also go really slow. And this is a big, big change. It's a big system change, not only for the European Union itself, not only for the member states, not only for the IT systems and all the staff, all the customs officials. This is also very, very big for traders, for importers, for exporters, for trade professionals, for customs professionals. A lot of new concepts to wrap your head around. So taking 2 years to get to it is good actually, because you can understand and discuss and evaluate the impact. Now, in the meantime, obviously the lawmakers have not been quiet, but we are following the normal structures that the European Union has given us to pass this legislation properly. And you know that the European Union sometimes gets accused of, being non-democratic and whatnot. And this again is an example of why that is not the case. At all, because 2 years we are debating, discussing, voting, and nothing's decided. So that is the reason why this is very democratic, because there's a proposal by the European Commission. That's a supranational body which has the interests of Europe at heart, which is what we want to do. We want to strengthen the European Union. So such a piece of legislation cannot be written by member states because they would be seeing it from a Dutch perspective, from a Belgian perspective, from a Spanish perspective. It needs to be done by the one that only looks at Europe. So that's what they've done. They also will have the time and capacity to think outside the box and create something innovative and new. They will do necessary stakeholder forums and consultations, which they did. They did foresight studies 2040, where I participated to answer the question, what scenarios do we need? If the world develops in one direction, what is the way the customs union should behave? And we had 4 scenarios to go through. We created 4 different scenarios, and a mix of that is now this reform package. We had a wise group of experts that came together and discussed what should be the future of the customs union. And the overarching message, if I remember it well, is there should be one customs union. We should seem to be act as one. Now, there's a subtle difference between be one and act to be seen as one. And the reason we want to be one is because it makes it all simpler, right? If we don't have to distinguish between Irish customs and Spanish customs, if there's just EU customs, that would be better because it would make it much more less complicated. Also, clearing into an Irish customs system, into a Dutch customs system, into a Belgian customs system, into a German customs system, with all different names. You can't tell me that that's very efficient. And you can't tell me that that's very customs union-like. Now, if we want to be one Europe and one European Union, we need one customs authority. Now, that's easy for me to say, more difficult for the authorities to get through politically and practically. So therefore, there will still be customs officials in all 27 member states, all hired by the state and managed by the states, and they will do the same things, hopefully, as their partners, their partners in another member states. So the rules are almost the same already. The operation still lags behind by having dispersed system, 27 dispersed systems, all with different levels of integration and modernization. But from the background, we are trying very hard to integrate all these systems. We have a single European window environment where all the individual 27 single windows go and then talk to each other. So there is a Romanian single window and there is an Estonian single window, and they all deal with data. They come in the background together and then disperse the information back into their system. That's a single window approach. This is not part of what we're talking about here. The Union Customs Code reform is the one that will then shape the future of the European Union and will set the rules for the years to come. And it updates the current customs code, the current Union Customs Code, which is already almost 10 years old. Would you believe it? I still can remember when it came into force. It was a big deal for me, at least. Now it's already past tense almost, so to speak. So, key to understand with the Union Customs Code reform is that it's not yet law. Beginning 2025, it's just on paper. 2024 saw big advances. So the first thing that happens after a proposal is made by the European Commission is that the European Parliament jumps into action. They have the first say to speak. So the European Parliament reads the legislation and makes amendments and suggests changes they want to see. And they are a co-legislator. So this is the voice of the people, and the voice of those people speak, and they have suggested amendments. And then it goes into the council. The council is the head of states. So this is the, François Hollande. No, that was, it's not even Macron. My goodness, what am I saying? My head is all over the place. Macron. Emmanuel Macron, please. Huh? So, and all the, and Olaf Scholz, huh? And all these people, I don't even know who they are all now. They changed so much. Um, and so that they are now discussing in 2024, mid 2024, after the parliament voted, it went to the council, and now it is at the beginning of 2025, it is being discussed with the council. And so in November 2024, no, sorry, December 2024, we had a beautiful event in Brussels, where we met with the outgoing Hungarian EU Council presidency and the incoming Polish EU presidency. And we had a really good discussion. So you could see the rapporteur of the European Parliament was there, but also the Council was there and the member states' representatives, as well as the trade family, the trade associations. So from the express carriers to the World Shipping Council to the ship suppliers, they were all there. Textiles and of course the e-commerce platforms, they're all there. All to increase dialogue, all to keep discussion and open. So at the moment, we are at a space where we are discussing, where we are shaping, where we are changing, where we are looking at ideas. And it is believed that 2025 will be the year when the agreement is reached. Then we will have a stable text. And when we have the stable text, the work can start on the implementing provisions. As you may know from legislation, we always need to have delegated acts and implementing acts. And they have a slight difference because one is more actionable than the other one, so to speak. They also make it more complicated to do the law because we have the framework legislation, the delegated act, and the implementing act, and they all kind of work together, plus their temporary acts and provisional acts and whatnot. They all make the Union Customs Code. So all of that to say, there's still a lot of work. We're not at the end game yet. The discussion's still ongoing, but for trade professionals, every step we go closer to it, to the final state, more we need to think about it, more we need to get ready, more we need to have first preliminary discussions in the company of what it would mean. And again, this is a strategic choice because it's not about only understanding the law. It's about what you make of it. Those that analyze and understand which direction we're heading, what's the direction of travel, they can think, in my company, I would like to benefit from this system. If I want to benefit from this system in 10 years' time, I need to now do this. You can either do it now and start setting the groundworks to prepare, or you can rush in a couple of years. The choice is yours. This is why I am so keen to always talk about the Union Customs Code reform. It's a little unusual because people say to me, but there's nothing really I have to do. There's no law. There's no nothing. What do you want me to do? I say I don't agree. I say, please look where we're going. You might not know the final state, but you should appreciate what we are trying to do so that you can get the mindset in the company ready for it. So we're going to understand the EU Customs Authority. We're going to understand the EU Customs Data Hub, and we're going to understand AO Trust and Check. To me, these are the three big elements of this reform. Much more details I could talk to you about, but for the sake of time, I won't. Also, the timeline you should be aware of. This is the official timeline. It can change as the legislative process is not finished. But We expect 2025 to be the year where the council makes a final decision, then we're good. And that de facto means the customs authority, I don't see a reason why it shouldn't be voted for. So it will come into operation. The customs data hub, it will come into operation. The EU trust and check, it will come into operation. So know what it means now. I will talk to this from one perspective only, and I appreciate that there are many more aspects of it, like security and safety and e-commerce. All of that is not my concern right now. Why? Because I need to focus. We have limited time. I am concerned by the movement of goods from a trader perspective, okay, and trade facilitation perspective. A good reform from this perspective is one that simplifies processes and procedures and makes it easy to trade. A great reform is one where I can save time and save money and have less to do. The best reform is the reform where I have to do nothing. It just goes. Zero paperwork, zero action, just runs like clockwork. Still meeting the requirements of the European Union for safety, security, for all these reasons we mentioned, still meeting the requirements for licensing and whatnot. I will be as bold as to say, maybe the reform we're going for is the best. Certainly the most innovative I've seen. And the key point of it is the customs data hub. Not developed yet, doesn't exist, because not voted. But if the potential, my God, it could do magical things. I imagine the data hub pretty much like a blockchain kind of thing. It's a place, a virtual place, run by and looked at by the European Commission. That's already good. Why? Because it's not the Lithuanian customs that are looking at it. They are also looking, of course, but managed by a central point. This is where data comes together. I hear your concerns about data confidentiality. Let's leave that for the moment. Data comes together at this one point. Data can be added to and removed from this one place. A customs declaration has different data points. You agree. You need to know who's consignee, consignor, who has the value, has the HS code, weights, etc., codes, etc. Who puts them there for this one shipment doesn't have to be one single person. Could be that I have certain data and you have certain data and that my freight agent has certain data. So why not say, okay, great, I want to ship this from A to B, but I don't have all the data and I don't want to receive all the data and then put it onto the system. That's like extra work. So why don't I give my data, you give your data, and then once it's all confirmed, once we have everything, because it's secure on the data hub, then automatically it shall pass. Because once I have the data, the system can run continuously and say, we've got this data, that's okay. We've got this data, that's okay. So it can automatically approve. We don't need to wait for everything to be completed, or even if we have to wait, lots of people can add to it. Then it's the data set is complete. And then if we are authorized trust and check, then it means we have the highest level of trust. Therefore, it is now no longer necessary for any customs intervention. So it will basically be registered in the system. It'll be risk assessed and it be accepted. There is then possibly some kind of notification email saying this has been accepted. Fine. But there is no action for you to do. There is no customs declaration for you to submit. It is the data you have, you can submit to them, or you can open a channel for the customs to pull the data. That's how I understand it. So at any time, they can see and access your data and see what the data you have and run a 365-day, 24 hours a 7 check if they want on the data you have in the system. They can see who all your partners are. They can see that the partners are also all trust and checks. So if they're all trust and checks, they're all valid. So if everybody's secure, there's no need for transactional operations, as in importing, exporting declarations, filing them like we do today. There's no need for that because we're all trusted partners. So that means the declaration process and the whole thing that we're doing right now that costs so much time and so much effort, we don't need to do in the future. We will have an almost smooth running automated system whereby we file customs declarations without human intervention, without knowing it. And we won't call it customs declarations, we'll call it data sets. But there is an opportunity for the customs to intervene if they need to, because they have a constant flow of data. And if they pick up a data that is not conform, they can still identify who lodged it and go to these people directly, because somebody must have put it there, either enabled it through feed or placed it. So that means we are moving to a system where we have a lot of trust, where the good guys work without having to submit a customs declaration and without active customs intervention based on a risk profile that is automated. Now, that system needs to be managed and looked at. When there are problems, they need to be addressed, but they should be addressed by a European entity called the Customs Authority. The Customs Authority will be then based on European officials that work in complement, as a complement to, say, the Irish revenue or, say, the German Zoll. So German Zoll is still there, no problem. The system we will use will not be called AES or AIS or Atlas or Delta or the Dutch system or the Belgium system. It will be called the EU Data Hub. So all the systems can go, Data Hub can come in, replaces this, is my reading of it. Now, I'm sure some of you will say, oh my God, this is not the right way. It's not like this, like that. But that's in easy terms as good as I can explain it. If this all happens, okay, then we go to 2038 when this business hub is used by everyone. And again, this timing may change, so we still have a bit of time. But we need a bit of time because this thing hasn't been constructed yet. We don't know what's going to be constructed, who's constructing what data we need. And that requires, obviously, a fundamental change as regards customs procedures. Just imagine you had more requirements to get the trust and check going. Or if you are going to go through a completely paperless / declaration-less system, there has to be some checks within your own internal audit system. So process and procedures will need to be changed within a company to accommodate that. The message is this: whether this has been the correct description of the future state or not, change is coming. It is positive change for businesses. There's a significant opportunity to simplify, streamline, and move away from declaring to customs every time on a transactional basis, but move to a more system-based risk management approach. And if that happens, we should be accompanying it and prepare for it. And therefore, we should need to know about this. I have recorded a 50-minute video on the UCC reform, which I link here, and that you can watch. And it will explain all of the system in much more detail. It goes into the document, and it explains what needs to happen. Okay, I think that's all I will have for this. I told you it was quite short, but hopefully it was useful. So thank you for watching. Like, subscribe. I'll see you at the next time.